Well, round 22 was absolutely insane, devastating for some teams and joyous for others. My name is Josh Jenkins, or JJ. Welcome to the field. As I said, round 22 served up some dead set doozies. Some games where you thought, well, this one is in the books. I can turn the tally off. I can go do something else. I can switch the radio over. And needless to say, you're regretting that decision if you did so. Now, courtesy of Fox Footy, saw a little stat on the gram, and this explains just how wild round 22 was. So Sydney, way back when on Friday night, they kicked 5 goals to zip in 11 minutes of footy to pinch that game by 3 points over the Pies and just right the ship ever so slightly for the Swans. And in doing so, I think likely, almost certainly ended the season for the Pies. Then Saturday afternoon, in the early afternoon, the Roos had done the job. They're up by 13 points with 93 seconds remaining in Hobart in a game where they dominated for most part. They were 35 points up at one stage. West Coast said, no, bugger this. We're not rolling over. We caught 2 planes to get here. We've got to catch 2 planes to get home. We might as well win the game. They kicked 3 straight goals in 93 seconds and steal the game. At the same time, the 145 slot, GWS were down 30 at quarter time. Game over. Nope. Adam Kingsley's men just keep fighting. They were down 15 points at the 16-minute mark of the final term, only to rally and win running away in Brisbane against the Lions. Incredible performance. Out west, not quite as dramatic, but a fourth quarter deficit from the Cats. They overcame that, won the game by 11 points and give themselves almost certainly a top 4 berth once the finals begin. Another one. Yes, another one for the Cattery. Saturday night, it was dour. I was there calling the game for AFL Nation, but ultimately, another team who was behind late in the contest, as the Power and Jason Horne-Francis, namely, kept the lights on. They came back from a goal down to win by 3 points at the G in front of next to no one, I might add. And Saturday night, we now know what Docklands had to offer. I knew there was a reason I wanted to work that game and not the Melbourne Port Adelaide game. Mac Andrew plays hero. And after the free kick he gave away, the dubious free kick he gave away to Max King earlier in the season, where Max King kicked a goal and basically sealed the game for the Saints, Mac Andrew got to play hero. He took a big grab, and we'll get to the Bombers' troubles shortly, but he took a big grab, he went back and he calmly slotted it and got the Suns their first win on the road in 2024. And then Sunday, not necessarily as dramatic, well, perhaps it was, not as closely fought, but the Hawks hammered the wobbly and wounded Blues, and Adelaide thumped the informed Dogs. Footy, hey? You just never know what's going to happen. Now, I want to start here, short and sharp. Ladder predictors, throw them out. Just don't do them. Because as soon as someone texts me or tells me on the radio they've done a ladder predictor, the very next game, the result's upended. It's dramatic. It's unexpected. And your ladder predictor's done. She's all over. You got to start again. You got to do another one. And the people behind the ladder predictor, I hope they're getting paid per click, because I tell you what, people are having to double back, circle back and get it done and do another one basically every game. Now, last week on SEN, filling in for the great Andrew Gaze. I've only got a few days to go. So if you love Gazy, he's almost back. I did something termed one big thing. So I spoke about one big thing in each game that I was looking forward to. I want to rehash them. So Sydney and Collingwood, my one big thing was, is Brodie Grundy cooked? My answer to that is maybe not cooked, but certainly on edge. He looks a shadow of the man who was dominating games, particularly at the SCG earlier in the season. Brisbane Lions and GWS. Toby Bedford versus Lockie Neal. Lockie was held to 24 disposals, didn't lay a tackle in the game. That's a win to the Giants in the individual sense, and certainly a win to them in the game. North Melbourne and West Coast. I said Big X, Tristan Sherry, gets his chance to nail down the All-Australian Blazer. And I'll tell you what, he did his part. 30 disposals, 13 clearances, plenty of tackles, plenty of hit-outs. What a performance it was from him. Shame not enough of his teammates followed suit. Fremantle and Geelong, I said, we need you again, Jezza. Well, maybe these Cats are a bit better than I thought, because Cameron was good without being great, yet they still went on the road and got the job done. Essendon and Gold Coast, I said, we need you again, Jake. Jake Stringer, can you back up 4 goals and 10 tackles? Well, not quite. Only the 1 goal and only the 2 tackles for the package. Melbourne and Port Adelaide, I said, she's time, Todd. Todd Marshall, without Stephen May, it's time to stand up. Well, unfortunately for Todd, concussed, subbed out, and will miss the showdown this week. Carlton and Hawthorn, this was the one I got the most correct. I said, I'm not sure I want to be the loser. And right now, I'm not sure I want to be the Navy Blues. Richmond St Kilda, disinterested, and I'm not sure that was an inaccurate statement at all. Well done to the Saints. Another win late in the season. And Adelaide and the Doggies. Tex. He was subbed off. Fogarty kicked 5. Believe he's having a little surgery, a little procedure on that eye. So not sure whether his season and therefore career may be done. But that's how I saw all 9 games. A little bit of fun. Now, time for a bit more of a deep dive. Now, on the AFL website, you can go back when there's a close game and watch the last 2 minutes. It's a great little thing that the AFL website does, afl.com.au. And I did that because I was working the Port Adelaide and Melbourne game. I went back and watched the last 2 minutes of this game. So from the moment Jay Gresham pushes an opponent in the back, grabs the ball, runs it in and kicks a goal. He thinks he sealed the game. So it takes plenty of time for the ball to get back to the Gold Coast Suns player after Gresham gives away the free kick, runs in, kicks a goal and celebrates. It has to take a minute. The Suns hold up with Noah Anderson. He gets the ball at halfback and he's held up. And I'm thinking, well, he's got to kick it long down the line. That's a win for the Bombers. Heaven knows the corridor is wide open. No idea how or why Essendon players are stuck on the boundary line, even though they had a minute to a minute and a half to get set up. But they've completely given up the corridor. The forwards didn't get up the ground enough, even though they had plenty of time. And Gold Coast get to open up the ground through the corridor and come out the other side. And the ball transitions from one end to the other, almost in the hands of Ben King, within 20 seconds. Terrible defensive transition from a slow play situation. Just shouldn't happen. So defensive 50 ball up, throw in, I should say, with a couple of repeat stoppages. What's the premium and the priority for Essendon? Don't give up shots on goal and don't give up free kicks against, because that will be a shot at goal. You freeze frame one of the throw-ins and Essendon have got +2 behind the ball. Even numbers at the front of the contest, which I don't love, but +2 behind the footy. We can live with that. If you throw and cast your mind back to when they were beaten by Adelaide, they almost didn't have a spare behind the ball at all. So there were a couple of repeat stoppages, well handled. Eventually, on about the third throw-in, Caldwell gets a kick and exits the ball, but he's unable to get it skinny enough. He doesn't quite get it deep enough or skinny enough to get it close to the boundary line. And Sam Collins is there and he takes an intercept mark. Sam Draper would like to do better and get that ball to ground, but he's unable to, and Collins marks. 60 seconds left. Collins makes let's face it, a horrible decision to go wide and blows the kick. It goes out of bounds. The Suns get it back from the stoppage. Lemons re-enters the footy and Langford does exactly what he's supposed to do. He comes up as the spare. He impacts in the air and he impacts at ground level with a little bit of pressure, forces another throw in. 35 seconds remaining. This is where I think the two ruckman game plan or the implementation can hurt you. So Draper is not in the ruck. Bryant's in the ruck. Draper's playing as a forward. He's one kick away. Now, anyone who understands playing as a forward knows in that situation, the ball's only going to go one way. It's going to go long and skinny. Draper sets up inside, corridor side of Sam Collins. And when the ball's kicked long, skinny and wide, Collins is the first one to react. Now, Draper maybe is unable to react because he doesn't understand where the ball's going to go, having not played as a forward very often. Or he's too slow to move because he's not a forward. He's a ruckman. He's a little bit more cumbersome. Yes, he's athletic, but he doesn't react to it as quick as Sam Collins does. Go and watch the tape. So that's a big miss because if Draper can halve that ball, she's all over. Essendon win. He can't. Collins gets it, and you know the rest. And people say, well, how does Mac Andrew take that mark? Well, on the re-entry, Essendon get it out, and on the re-entry, Jaden Laverde is on his way to get back to Mac Andrew, but he doesn't hustle back. He's not desperately trying to get back and find him. And you can get away with a lot in that situation. He can be physical, but because he's slow to get back, he doesn't get any body on him. Andrew's feet are already moving. He's a super athlete. He's looking for the footy. He goes past Langford, who kind of wants to put body work into him, but misses him. And in the end, the ship has sailed for Laverde, who's trying to caravan Mac Andrew, and for Langford, who tried to get some body on him. And in the end, the still shot's as ugly as it gets. Mac Andrew's up, fully stretched, arms outstretched to grab the ball, and no Essendon player has even left the ground. And the rest is history. Mac Andrew goes down in folklore. So for Essendon, they did learn a bit from last time against Adelaide. But Brad Scott said the structure was all in place. It was all correct. Well, you can't give up that ball through the middle. Take it all the way back to the free kick that Gresham gave away. You simply cannot give up that kick through the corridor. Yes, it didn't ultimately cost them, but it cost them field position. It may have been the reason the ball got inside Gold Coast forward 50 at all. And then you've got a player who's playing out of position. Sam Draper's a ruckman. He's not a forward. Nate Caddy would have got that done. Even though he's young, he understands the instincts of a forward. He would have moved quickly and he would have understood where to be and what to do. I don't know if he was on the bench. I don't know if he was set up in a different position, but a ruckman in that spot is not the answer. So Essendon's mistakes were minimal and they're at the margin, but that's where these games are won and lost. They're won and lost at the margin. Go and have a look at some of the bounces and some of the handovers and some of the communication errors from Collingwood. And they're up by 25 points on the Swans. These things are small, but they mean a lot. They mean a heap. And if you don't get them done, you pay the ultimate price. You pay the ultimate price. Now, I want to talk about the Hawks because I did spend a decent amount of time in the summer having a look at my ladder predictor. And I didn't just willy-nilly throw teams in order. I'm very happy for the most part with how it's played out. I was nervous about Brisbane for a while. I've probably missed on Port Adelaide, but I still, even though they're second, don't have them as a premiership contender. But otherwise, I feel pretty good. Adelaide I missed, even though Andy Marr tells me they're the best, historically the best placed, 15th place team ever. I had them fourth, so that's a big miss. But otherwise, I'm not too bad. I'm feeling okay. I had Melbourne out of the 8. I had a few other teams out who are out. Had some teams in who are in, Geelong, GWS. So I'm feeling comfortable. But the Hawks, I had them 17th. Big miss. Big miss. I did have Richmond last, which didn't go down well at the time. People claiming I was still scared or scarred from 2017. I just didn't think they were much good. But the Hawks, why did I miss on them so badly? Lloyd Meeks improved a lot. I reckon more than most of us, almost all of us could ever imagine. But a forward mix, and now be honest, even Hawks fans who might be watching or listening, and thanks to those who are, A key forward mix without Mitch Lewis, consisting of Mabior Chol, Jack Gunston, and Cal Shadir, who none of you had ever heard of prior to the season. Did you really think they were going to get the job done? Mabior Chol, who was at his third club, Jack Gunston, who's well and truly north of 30, had gone from Hawthorn to Brisbane and back to Hawthorn, and the untried Cal Shadir. Did you think they'd get it done? I didn't. And on paper, where would you have that group rated or ranked as a three-pronged key forward attack? Be honest. 16th or 17th? Like, I'm not being disrespectful. And to be honest, they've played amazingly well. But on paper, at the start of the season, that's a bottom two, bottom three key forward mix. So they've got it done. But what I missed on was this small brigade of speedsters. I'm trying to come up with a nickname for them. At the moment, it needs some work. I've called them the RKCR Brigade. They can run, they can kick, they can create, and they can run. Now, I said run twice because running contest to contest is what separates them. And you can throw D'Ambrosio in there, Moore, McDonald, Impey, McKenzie, Amon, Morrison, Ginnivan, Watson, and at times Luke Bruce. There's 10 guys in Hawthorn's lineup who can all run, who can all get from contest to contest. They can get there fast. They're creative. They're all good kicks like their coach was. And they're brave and bold and brash, and they're not scared of anyone. That's where I missed. That's where I missed badly. Just didn't know that McKenzie and McDonald and even more, Ginnivan for sure, were that good. D'Ambrosio's exceeded expectations, but I liked him at the Bombers. Not sure why they didn't give him the contract he was after. And Nick Watson's a high draft pick, and he's starting to do his thing. They can run, they can kick, they can create, and they can run. And that's what the game is built on at the moment, being bold when you've got the ball, being able to run from one contest to the next, and having the courage to get it done. And they have the courage to get it done. I'm telling you, they are a dangerous group. And if they can add to next season some of these big guns they're talking about, Battle and Barris, then maybe, just maybe, look out. Maybe look out this year. Finally, the Blues. The Blues. I've been saying this probably endlessly. People want me to stop. Health is wealth. Health is wealth. Your best ability is your availability. Carlton's best ability, like everyone in every sport ever, is your availability of your best players. And Carlton don't have it. They had 3 players sitting in the back row for more than half of that game on Sunday. Fogarty and Jack Martin. And you'll say to me, well, they're not stars. But you have a look at the runners that I just mentioned, Hawthorn have, and you take them out of their team, and all of a sudden you might be short-handed. Fogarty and Martin play in the similar part of the ground. Medium to high half forwards who get up and back and put pressure on. Well, they put pressure on each other. And they took each other out of the game. Fogarty with a collarbone and Martin with a hamstring again. So that hurts you because not only are you down 2, you've got to bring your sub in. You lose 2 guys from a part of the ground where you do the most running. Then Curnow goes down with the ankle. And yes, hand up. I had mail some information that he wouldn't play. Let's call it a 0-0 draw, shall we? Because he played, and I was told as much by many of you on the internet. But I tell you what, I think the proof is in the pudding. Perhaps he shouldn't have been out there. Whether he was chasing a Coleman, whether they were desperate, who knows? But he shouldn't have been out there, and perhaps it's going to cost him the rest of the regular season and them their season. But Mackay's Proppy, De Koning is a loss they just simply haven't been able to manage at all. And other key players are in, out. You just can't get it done. I'm not sticking up for Carlton. Why would I? I've got no investment or vested interest in them. But when you're down players and you're down key players, you can't get it done. Look at anyone. Sydney, no injuries, dominant. Injuries, back to the pack. It's what happens in elite level sport. You take out your best players and you can't get the job done. Next man up. The next man up mentality is great in theory, awful in practice. Bringing your 31st player in for your third player, your third best player, just ain't going to cut it. The math don't work out. I'm not sure if you know, but the math don't work out. Soldier for soldier ain't getting it done. Carlton might be done. They got to go to Perth and play the Eagles. But I'll tell you what, that's all she wrote for me. It was a massive round 22. I loved it. Make sure you check out the 7AFL socials where we just hone in on a couple of Port Adelaide stars who apparently, allegedly, reportedly want to come back to Melbourne. Dan Houston's one. He'll probably be a multiple All-Australian by the time this season's over. And Miles Bergman, who's the one I really want to get my hands on. He's young, he's tall, he's athletic, he's tough. And as of the weekend, he can play on some of the best small forwards, as he did against Bailey Fritsch. I love the way he goes about it. Those two guys might be up for trade. Make sure you check out the 7AFL socials. If you can, send an email to your local list manager and see if you can get your hands on them. Thanks for those who are listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for dropping us a comment. Make sure you do. Make sure you subscribe. And in the words of the great Pat McAfee, be a friend, tell a friend. I'm sad the Olympics are over, but the footy is just cooking.